Well, you ninjas out there, welcome back to DIY Net. Got an unboxing for you. Picked up this small torch off of Amazon. These are handy when you are trying to put shrink wrap on electrical connections, and also if you have to do any, I'm a model railroader, so when sometimes you have something that's a little bit heavier, it needs to be soldered. The electric soldering iron doesn't quite do it, so it's good to have a little extra heat. And in general, it's handy to have. And if you are a cook and you want to flambe something, you can. These are come in handy too. A lot of chefs have them. But anyway, that's this one is called a Lexivon, fired by butane. And let's open it up and see what it looks like. So, let's see. Oops. I don't want to come out of here. So we have a case. I didn't know we were going to get a case with it, so that's nice. Handy to keep the items there. And we have directions. And there is the torch. We'll look at that more closely in a minute. Anyway, the case isn't bad. It's got actual hinges on it. It doesn't have one of those living... Actually, it does have a living hinge on it. So if you look at that, that is eventually going to break. But that kind of goes with the territory with these things. They're usually kind of cheap. It's not an actual hinge. It has this flexy thing in there. So it doesn't have a pin in it. So that's a little crappy, but for the price, I think it was only about 20 bucks, so shouldn't come as a big surprise. But anyway, that's the case. Case isn't bad otherwise. Actually, it was about $40 for the set, which isn't bad considering that there were several other manufacturers. They wanted $30, $32 or so for just a torch. So that, with the accessories and the case, that seems pretty reasonable. Okay, so on the unit itself, the igniter is in the back. You push that to ignite it. There is a flame adjustment on this side. You can determine how much flame you get. And let's see. So we have, what's in here is we have 3 different size soldering tips. You can use that for various things. And there is they're saying that's a hot cutting blade. I'm not sure what, I guess you could cut styrofoam or something with that apparently. And then, as I said, there's a deflector for keeping the flame from going out and damaging some other piece of another wire or so forth. So that's in there. And the adapter, and then there's this little bitty, they're calling this a hot blower tip, so apparently when you put that on there you get hot air blowing out of there, and again that might be useful for you putting on shrink wrap on a wire or something. So basically that's what you got. It should cover most everything. So if you want to put one of the tips on, you have to remove this piece, which they're calling a flame guard, so that just screws off. And there is an adapter piece, it's be hard to see that very well, which is a threaded on the inside of that. And what happens is this goes down through there. You just drop it into the flame guard like this. Pokes out on the end, and then you screw this back onto the torch. And then there is the tips have threads on them, and you can thread that into there. And there's 2 different wrenches, one slightly larger than the other. Give the smaller of the 2, I think they said that was 7 millimeters, goes on the tip itself, and then you hold the adapter with the other one and tighten that up, tighten the tip up. So that's on there, and that's how you install the various tips. And And then there's this little holder here that you can set it down in while it's hot. This doesn't fit all that great. You kind of have to shove it down in there, and it's well, it does hold it. It just seems kind of funky, but not 100% thrilled with that, but it does work. The little tray that comes in there has a sponge in it, and you can fill that with water, or put a little water on the sponge, and that while you're soldering, use that to clean off the tips of the soldering tips in between each solder. One thing nice about having this type of torch here is that if you need to solder something out in the field, don't have any electric power, obviously your electric soldering iron isn't going to work, but you could take this anywhere. So if you're working on a vehicle or tractor or what have you, you don't necessarily have to have electric power nearby in order to do some soldering. So that's another good use for this. So it takes butane lighter fluid, or for your cigarette lighter, and what they are recommending is that you use a higher quality type of butane. I didn't even realize there were that many different kinds, but here's they show you on here what to use and what not to use. So they're recommending you do not use some generic cheapo butane. Use something better. This is Zippo, so this should be fine. So let's see how we actually fuel this thing. Okay, so the bottom has a nozzle in it, and then the butane just fits down into the nozzle. So you just put the nozzle over it and then push down. And you can actually feel the tank getting cold on the outside as the butane goes into it. Since the gas probably expands a little bit, takes a little heat out of the air inside there, so you'll actually be able to feel it going in. You can keep doing this until it kind of pops out of the top, starts spraying out. If you want to make sure it's completely full, I'm not going to do that because I don't really want butane laying about. You want to dissipate the fumes before you try to do anything else. I didn't smell anything, so I don't think I spilled any. So to light it, we have to move this little safety lever. You turn it and you push it in. You turn it, push it that way, and then release it, and it goes back into the slot on the other side there. And once you do that, once you do that, you should be able to light it by pushing the ignition. Let's see if it works. The safety lever goes off every time. Alright, so there we go. We got a flame. I hope you can see that on the camera. So to start that, as I said, you have to reset that safety lever every time that you want to light it. And then it goes to the lighting, and when you let go of the button in the back, it shuts off. If you want to keep it on continuously, you slide that lock button back there, and then when you release it, it'll stay on. And to shut it off, you just push that forward. So pretty easy to use. Should come in handy. Should point out the label is slightly confusing here. When the safety lever is forward, it actually prevents it from staying on when you release the trigger button. So to lock it, you push it the other way, you push it back towards the back. Most equipment, when it says lock it, you're locking it off. In this case, the lock means you're locking it on. So just be aware of that, because you could have a little accident there otherwise. Just keep that in mind. Oops. And let's see if that, probably not gonna be able to see that too well on camera, but that does adjust the size of the flames. You can go backward and forward with it, sliding it back. One safety thing is just like a cigarette lighter, it doesn't always, when you push the button here, it creates a spark in there and starts the torch up. Sometimes the spark doesn't work quite right. It's just like a cigarette lighter. It doesn't always fire up 100% of the time. So if you push it and it doesn't light, let it go and let the air clear a little bit before you try to restart it, because if you do it a couple times and there's a lot of butane floating around, it could puff at you, which is rather unpleasant. So just something to keep in mind, safety tip. And one other safety issue, this is obvious, but I'll say it anyway. I believe unrelated to Captain Obvious. He's probably a distant cousin or something. If you've been using this, don't put it back in the box until it cools off. Put it in the stand and just leave it for a while, because it could set the foam in the box on fire, which we obviously do not want.